With Fionna and Cake Season 2 slowly approaching, I think it's very fair that we go back and relive what Fionna and Cake was. From Season 1 to the OG episodes that was in the original run of Adventure Time, let's go back and review each and every one of those episodes. Starting with Fionna and Cake Season 1, I guess. So I've just seen the first 2 episodes of Fionna and Cake, and it's really freaking good. I'm just gonna say right now, this is going to be an all-timer of a series. I already know this is gonna be an all-timer, but at the same time I already know this can easily be a really confusing series if handled incorrectly, because we're going to be dimension hopping in this series if it wasn't obvious from the promotional posters and the trailers alone. This is going to be a crazy series because the trailer gave me so many questions already, from why is Betty here when Betty has sacrificed herself for Simon? Why is Jake here when Finn didn't get the tattoo until Jake passed? There were so many questions going around, and this is kind of answering it. We're now starting to see some of the threads come together. Episodes 1 and 2 have released, and I just want to talk about them. Episode 1 focuses on Fionna, and Fionna's character is more or less a young adult, just like you and I. She is very sick and tired of the mundane life that the world has given to her. She dreams of wanting more. She dreams of her life being similar to the OG Adventure Time's version of Fionna and Cake, where her and Cake are going on a lot of adventures. She had a dream where she's saving a lot of the citizens from this mouse car, and then the ice prince saves her and they kind of clasp hands and it's a little cute, and then she wakes up due to her alarm. And when I say her day job is boring, her day job is boring, because she is one of those tour guides, and it's a sad tour guide life because there is no tourists in this city. It's just the same people every single day, and it can get kind of tiring. And it just so happened that this day the boss was hiding undercover as one of the passengers, and she ends up seeing that, you know, Fionna is not good at her job, and she ends up firing her. And that really pissed Fionna off, but that's not the focal point of this episode. The focal point of this episode is Cake. Cake is not feeling well, she's acting weird, she keeps going towards ice for some reason, and nobody knows why. Oh, and by the way, this series is for young adults because Fionna said damn it and goddamn it. She originally had this vet appointment ready for Cake, but after she got fired, she's like, well, I barely have money in general, so what should I do? Marshall Lee suggested, why don't you go to like my guy Ellis P. And this is giving me the opportunity to talk about the world in general, because I originally said in the trailer reaction that I thought this world was weird to the point where I thought it was like a future version of Adventure Time where everybody just kind of looks the same but is very more humanized. No, this is a completely different dimension. These people look like the OG Adventure Time versions of themselves because they want us to know who these characters are, and it really works for us for knowing who all of these characters are, like Gary, who was Prince Bubblegum in the OG Fionna and Cake, Marshall Lee, who was Marshall Lee, of course, and like everybody, even like the Banana Guards kind of all have their characters. I think their characters' names are Joe. They look like Joe's, so probably. But we go to Ellis P, who was Lumpy Space Princess's counterpart if it wasn't obvious. And she's not good at helping. She's most definitely not good at helping. Cake ends up seeing something and running towards it, and when she runs towards it, she sees this ice lady selling ice cream, and it looks very much so like the Ice Queen. And when she jumps into the ice cream parlor thing, she vanishes. It was like a portal of some sorts, and that was the end of the first episode. And at least you're wondering, what portal does she go into? Does she go into the portal that leads her to Finn and Jake's world? What is Finn and Jake's world to the world of Fionna and Cake? It's left so many questions open, at the point where it was almost like, was all of Adventure Time a dream for somebody? But obviously it wasn't. And we know that it wasn't because of episode 2, titled Simon Petrikov, where it focuses on Simon. If you thought Simon's life was sad as the Ice King, his life is even sadder now that he is the normal person in a world filled with wacky characters, and he just feels even more out of place than ever. He's going through this crisis alone, and it's getting worse because everybody he's talking about his old stories of Fionna and Cake, where we know that was the Ice King stories. The Ice King wrote all of those, and everybody keeps saying, yo, you should write more stories like Fionna and Cake. Did you read my story? Can you publish it like you did for Fionna and Cake? And even Finn, who looks so fucking jacked, looks so fucking cool, It's like, yo, I used to bust your balls for those stories back in the day, but I really like them now. Jake's always loved them. I've turned myself around to them as well. And all of that stuff is just something that Simon doesn't want to hear, because he already feels like he's like very much so an other in this world. He doesn't belong here. And the more they talk about the work that Ice King's done, he's like, Ice King fit more in this world than I do. Why am I here? What is the purpose of me being here? But Finn sees he's upset and they try to go on an adventure, and this adventure is not fitted for Simon at all. They go through a lot of trials and tribulations. They ended up in the heart of the forest. Finn is so good at what he does. Any problem that's around, he easily mollywops it. He killed multiple beasts during this adventure, and we even saw blood. Twice. He pierced a monster through his nose and left a giant hole, and it was blood everywhere, and Simon got cut in the arm by a bear and there was blood dripping off his arm. And it's weird seeing blood in my Adventure Time, and I love it. But this did not help Simon. He at least told Finn that it helped so he could get out of this situation, and he started going home. He tried to call Marceline, and Marceline and PB are getting tattoos and failing at them but having a good time, listening to some metal with this tattoo guy, and he's getting pissed, and they're all laughing and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I'll call you later, Simon. We're busy doing stuff, all having fun without you. We'll call you later, bye. And this is also not something Simon needed to hear. So he goes back into his house, which is an exhibit of some sorts for other humans to come visit, I guess, for some reason. And he gets this ritual thing set up where he gets this picture of Betty, puts it to Evil Choose Goose, to a statue of Glob or Golb, I forgot his name, I think it's Glob, and he starts doing this chant, and Evil Choose Goose messes it up, but this chant opens up a portal in the back of his head, and Cake shows up. And that was the end of the second episode. Almost the end of the second episode. I forgot that we cut directly at the end to Prismo's place, and he's getting this alert thing on his TV remote. That's the end of the second episode, and it's leaving us a lot of things to say. Like, if this is dimension hopping, did somebody make a wish to Prismo? Did Fiona's wish that she made of the dandelion work, and that's what made the Prismo stuff happen? Or did Simon's ritual thing work, and that's what caused the rift into the dimensions? I'm so curious about what's going on here, and I don't know if that's exactly what I want for my Adventure Time, but everything feels like Adventure Time still. Like, Simon is in the Adventure Time world. We saw Root Beer Guy, which I guess his name is Dirt Beer Guy now. We saw like a lot of characters within here. Even on the Fionna side, we saw all the counterparts for a lot of like familiar faces where you're like, oh, it's that guy, oh, it's that guy, oh, it's Cinnamon Bun, oh, it's Peppermint Butler's lady version. Like, there was a lot of people where you like, you'll jump for nostalgia, but you're also there soaking in this new story, and it's just great to see. Like, even after all of these years, Adventure Time is still big and it's strong and it's keep going. And I think it's 10 or 11 years since Adventure Time's debuted so far. I think it's been even longer. And we saw it grow from being this episodic funny thing about these guys going on different adventures, going through different dungeons and having a good time, to this grand old serious thing where this guy's going through this crisis because he's the only human there, where Jake, this dog, realizes that he's part alien, and he goes on this adventure all to come to some sort of a war conclusion where, you know, everything ends in a dream. And it's just great to see, you know. I really like Adventure Time. Rather you've seen my video from a couple years ago where I say why I love and hate Adventure Time, I really like Adventure Time. It has a lot of ups and downs, but after it ended, it's only had ups so far. Even the ending series, season 10 to Islands and Stakes and Elementals, all of it, it had such an uptake in the last couple of seasons that I just really like Adventure Time now, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. I don't even know how Fiona's going to get to this world. Is he going to try to do the ritual again? Is going to open up a portal for Fionna? Because Fionna can't just go into the ice cream thing now, because I think the portal closed. So what's Fionna going to do? Is she going to be stuck there for another couple of days, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get her job back or something? I don't know. I really don't. And what's Simon gonna do with Cake there? Is Cake gonna be his new light to know that there's more worlds out there for him to travel around is he's going to go visit Prismo, because I think we saw him visiting Prismo in the trailer. I think we're going to see some stuff and it's going to be fun, I hope. So I've just seen Fionna and Cake episodes 3 and 4, and man, it's just getting crazy. Episode 3 was called Cake the Cat, and not really much went on. It was more of just a follow-up to what happened in the last episode. Cake is now in the world of Ooh, so it's her just experiencing everything. She has a voice because of this weird voice modulation thing that Simon gave her, and yeah, why did she come out of Simon's head? What's going on here? It doesn't matter for right now. We go back into Fiona's world, and she is going insane searching for Cake until Marshall gets her to plan, why not just look for the portal? So that's what she does, and she isn't putting up these missing posters. She's been out all night trying to find this portal or Cake, one or the other. Yeah, you know, we see Gary helping her out a little bit, you know, boosting her confidence up. Let's get you a little latte, get you pumping, and we can get going. Simon's at it again, trying to do another thing. A portal comes up to Fionna. She sees the portal, enters the portal. She's now in the land of Ooh as well. Cake the Cat's episode is now over. Episode 4 is the important episode, Prismo the Wishmaker. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but Prismo just seems very bummed out. He doesn't care about anything. It looks like he's going through depression. My assumption is he lost a lot of hope when Jake died. That's my only assumption, because why else would he be in this state? He's Prismo the Wishmaker. He's the maker of wishes, the maker of realities. Why else would he be upset if like his one cosmic friend just ceased to exist now? Speaking of Jake and Prismo, I forgot one thing that happened at the beginning of Cake the Cat, and that was we got to see the dimension where Finn is an adult with a Jake tattoo and Jake is still alive next with him. They're going on a normal Adventure Time adventure. They even put on a Jake suit trying to fight these weird chicken creatures. It was pretty cool. And it zoomed out and it was Prismo looking at it, and he's like, oh, good old-fashioned Adventure Time. I love it. I also love it. But that just shows where Prismo's mind is at right now. I feel like Jake's death really got to him hard, because that's the only time he sees happy is when he's seeing Finn and Jake have these crazy adventures like they always go on. But right now he just doesn't seem happy. He even has like the shadow to prove it. The shadow having a shadow was fucking hilarious, by the way. But this episode consists of two things: Bounty Hunter on his way to look for Prismo, and Prismo teleporting Fionna, Cake, and Simon up there to see what the heck is going on. And Prismo has to explain himself to Fionna and Cake, and we get this bombshell of information that I don't know if it classifies as a retcon or it's just an explanation in general. I think this classifies as a retcon, where he goes on this spiel about creating an unauthorized reality, and in this unauthorized reality he has basically created a gender bent Finn and Jake named Fionna and Cake. And since this is an unauthorized reality, he can't put it where all the other universes are. He has to have somewhere safe to put it, somewhere empty, somewhere a little loony and maybe magical. He put it in Ice King's head. He stored it inside Ice King's head. That's why Ice King has been writing the stories about Fionna and Cake. Actually, I don't know which came first, because I do remember Prismo saying the quote, "Oh, I couldn't make it like the stories." So I actually don't know which came first, the stories or the universe. Either or, that might be a slight retcon for Adventure Time, which is fine, honestly. It's just Fionna and Cake. And since Ice King got cured and he's no longer magical, he's a normal human being, the magic in the world has disappeared, and instead of being the Adventure Time Fionna and Cake we were used to, now they're these normal, boring, human versions of Fionna and Cake. They're us. Fionna and Cake has been living in our world. The world got reset to be a non-magical world, which is insane. It's insane that that's happened. And this is another notch in that thing for Simon, where it seems like nobody wants him. It's like the world was better when Ice King was around. Ice King was happy, Simon sad. Everybody really loves Fionna and Cake stories. Simon hates Fionna and Cake stories because they remind him of Ice King, the time period where he was like insane. Fionna and Cake want their magic back. They want their world to be more filled with magic, filled with hope. That would mean he has to go back crazy. Why would he want that? But they have no time for this heated argument or existential crisis that Simon is going through, because this bounty hunter is literally after them and is, going there as we speak. Prisma's trying to distract them while they're trying to escape. Prisma ends up leading them to a ritual place for Simon to send them back to their dimension, but they don't want to go, so they try to escape Prisma, and they can't, but Prisma's like, screw it, I'll let you guys go. So them and Simon end up escaping, and they end up in a not reality. They end up in another reality. So I'm assuming the rest of the series is going to be them actually reality hopping into different realities until they can escape this bounty hunter or defeat this bounty hunter with the help of people they meet along the way, like Finn and Jake that we saw earlier. That could happen. Like Shermie and Beth. Sure, let's go to Shermie and Beth's time period. I don't know. Does time period hopping count as dimension hopping? I'm not sure. Season 4 ends on another bombshell that I do not wish that they go forth with. Honestly speaking, I don't want this to happen, because this would make the ending of Adventure Time feel very null void to me. Like, why did the ending of Adventure Time happen if they end up doing this? And what I'm alluding to is that Simon says, don't worry, I'll get you guys home, and I'll defeat this guy by becoming the Ice King again. How and why would you do that? How and why is a very important question, because that just popped into my head. The crown fused with Gunther, so there's no way you could turn to the Ice King again unless you go to a completely different dimension and use somebody else's crown, because Gunther fused with the crown to become an Ice King of his own. I think he's also married at this point to the librarian, if I remember correctly, which is weird, but that did happen on the last episode. I just really hope they don't go through with this asinine thing of Simon trying to become the Ice King again. I think that was easily told that that's where the story was going to, if I sat down and thought about it more. And I would like to see them continue this and him see the error in his ways. He can't go back. He shouldn't go back. He has to, learn to adapt, learn to move forward, adapt and try to change for the better. This world is amazing and it's beautiful. Everybody loves living in the land of Ooh. It's just you that is like distancing yourself from this place because it reminds you of Ice King. Learn to live with it and grow. I'm not sure what to tell you, Simon, man. Come on. So I've now seen episodes 5 and 6 of Fionna and Cake. Let's talk about it. I want to do this talking a little differently. I want to do it kind of similar to the Lois Lane problem. So there's going to be two main talking points in this video. One's going to be talking about Simon and the crown itself, and the other is going to be talking about Fionna as a character. I said Simon and the crown itself because they both feel like distinctive characters at this point, which is making it odd for me because I don't know how I feel about Simon wanting to try to become the Ice King again. I think that's my main issue at this point in Fionna and Cake. I'm loving the story so far. I'm loving the story that they're telling. I know they're going to have to go down this road of him trying to find a crown and becoming some sort of Ice King, maybe to conquer it. Maybe Fiona's gonna not want him to be the Ice King at the end of it, but this is the story they're telling. So my opinions currently, it's like, I don't want the Ice King back. Not because he's a bad character, but because it feels like we're going back. Anytime a story progresses, you shouldn't go back. That's really weird when a story does that. At a time and point when a story should do that, it should be when the franchise itself is grown so old that those are nostalgic callbacks. And I don't want to say Adventure Time is old at this point, so please don't bring the Ice King back. And I'm calling the crown itself a character because the crown is Gunther. It was his original wish that made anybody who held the crown go mad. So it's fair to say that the crown itself is the character of the Ice King. And that's kind of what they explored in here. They went to two different dimensions. The first dimension being the Ice Finn dimension, the dimension where Finn got the crown instead of Simon. And it's interesting to see where that dimension is now, to say the least. Finn has somehow conquered the crown and destroyed it. I'm sorry if I'm misremembering if that happened in Adventure Time. I don't remember it. I've seen Adventure Time fully like 2 or 3 times and I just don't remember if they destroyed the crown or that. I'm assuming they did because I think I remember Finn wanted to go help him. And I think his his Jake was the lich and stuff, and it was just weird. But it's nice to see him older and grow past it, and the PTSD he has when anybody mentions the crown is very similar to the way that Simon feels about the Ice King, except Simon isn't as masculine about it. I say that because I have a lack of a better word to use at the top of my head. Simon feels a lot more timid, a lot more reserved compared to this version's Finn, but I can see if they had time to talk that they would probably trauma bond. And the other dimension was a dimension where seemingly Simon conquered the curse of the crown and has overcame its power. He's now this weird version of Simon, but cool looking Ice King version. It's like in those Marvel stories where Bruce starts controlling the power of the Hulk and now he's just in the form constantly and you can see Hulk being smart and stuff now. It's similar to that, except, you know, it's Simon. And this makes Simon feel a lot worse for himself. He already feels like everybody wants the Ice King back, and now seeing that there was a possibility where he could have controlled this power but he never could harness it, it's like, why me? Why was I so weak but this guy wasn't? Is that the differences between these two dimensions? He just has that one core element that makes him better than me? But the plot twist happened, then he just cast a spell that sent the craziness over to Princess Bubblegum. So Simon did indeed feel some vindication that, you know, they're still the same. He's just a lot more morally bad than he is. That was the difference. But at the same time, it also feels like this might motivate him to, when he gets the crown, to try to figure out a way to harness it. That feels like a thing that Simon would do. Try to study it, try to do some experiments on it and see if he can harness the power for himself. I think he mentioned that originally when he first got the crown, he didn't think it was going to take full effect on him. He just wanted to try and harness the power, but it did eventually make him go mad. And are we just going to see that happen again, where he thinks he can harness the power, he tries to, and he just goes back to Ice King again? I really hope not. I really hope Fionna is the key to make him stop. Let's talk about Fionna. Fionna so far in these episodes have been kinda lackluster. And I'm not saying that because she's a bad character. I think when we first saw her in the beginning, it felt very relatable. Hey, she's like us, she's somebody stuck in life who wants something more. And now she's getting that more, but instead of realizing all of these are different worlds with different people with different feelings, she starts to treat it sort of like a video game. She's going around, punch first, ask questions later kind of gal. And that's how she's been moving through these dimensions. It worked for her in Ooh. It worked for her in that other dimension with Ice Finn. So let's see if it works for her in this one. And she fell for the Ice King's charm. So when the plot twist happened and it turned out he was morally bad and he had cast a spell onto Princess Bubblegum, Fionna does start to feel bad for herself because she just slaughtered her entire candy kingdom because she thought they were the bad guys in this world. So now it's seeming like she's gonna have some sort of a self-reflecting arc, kind of like Finn had over the course of these 10 seasons, except he didn't have the reflection arc over the 10 seasons. He had it in like the last 2 or 3. I really feel like they're gonna go down this route, so if I call it, I'm gonna feel like I'm on top of the world. I think after Fionna's self-reflection is going to be the points where Simon finally finds the crown and is about to put it on and become Ice King again. Fionna's gonna stop him. I feel like the moral of the story is she's gonna just enjoy her life the way it is, because we're spending too much time in that world for it to change back. Gary and Marshall Lee, come on now, that's going to be the ship of the series. 1000%. No matter what dimension they're in, they're just so cute. It's so cool. So I just watched Fionna and Cake episodes 7 and 8. Let's talk about it. I think the best way to talk about these episodes would be to talk about them in the form of looking back on Simon's past, because I think that was the main theme for these 2 episodes. With episode 7 being them in a timeline where Simon didn't raise Marceline, he actually just died, and the Vampire King is the person that raised Marceline. And episode 8 just being Simon talking about his past, most notably the moment he met Betty. I think that'll be an interesting topic of discussion for this video and for you guys to comment about. This is starting to feel like we might be in an upswing of Simon's character, but first things first, let's talk about the Dark Timeline. the one where Simon died. This specific timeline is showing you how important Simon is to this story, because without Simon there, this world doesn't grow into the land of Ul we know today. This world is in its dystopian form with all the vampires running around, humans mostly all died out because of the vampires, with the only people being alive is this resistance crew run by a really cool and really hot Princess Bubblegum. Marceline didn't grow up to be the cool emo chick that we all love her to be. She wasn't raised by Simon during these time periods. The Vampire King raised her, and since the Vampire King raised her, she's evil. She no longer just sips on the color red, she drinks blood, she drains souls. She is just 100% evil and is also known as the Star. She is the Vampire King's right hand man, and out of everything we've seen so far, I'm calling this one the dark timeline because it just feels like that's what it is. The only difference between this one and the OG one that we're in is Simon is alive. And thank you for a few commenters telling me this. These 2 episodes also made it abundantly clear. But all of these dimensions make it feel like we're in the perfect timeline. All of these dimensions are telling you how important Simon's role is to the Adventure Time that we know today. If he didn't get the crown and become the Ice King, then who knows what dark things would have happened. Finn would have gotten it and we would have ended up in a weird dimension where Finn's the Ice King. The baby dimension, he's actually not that important in the baby dimension. The baby dimension is just a cute place. The Winter King dimension was a timeline where Simon was a little bit morally twisted and made a spell where he sent his craziness over to Princess Bubblegum and made the world a little bit more crazier than it should have been. So in my beautiful opinion, and many of the audience as well, no matter if he's the Ice King, no matter if he's Simon, his role in this world, in this universe, has been of most importance to the entire story, to the entire world of the Land of Ooo. You know, in episode 8, we got a little bit of cute lore going on because Simon talked about his first interactions with Betty. Now, this conversation started taking a hold because Fionna and Cake are having a little bit of an argument. Cake is kind of upset that Fionna didn't let her grab the crown from the Vampire King. But, you know, Fionna was just trying to protect her. I think it makes sense that Fionna was trying to protect her, but Cake wanted to show that she could stand on her own. Like, both sides are very understandable right here, but they don't need to be arguing. So Simon was trying to talk to her so she can understand what love is, maybe, and how people can grow apart and also grow together all at the same time. People fight, siblings fight, family fights, you know, but that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you all love each other. And I think that was the main goal for Simon's story. Or maybe it was just to distract Fionna, who knows. And by the way, this universe was really funny because it was a universe where this feels like it was a distance into the future, a distant lands into the future, if you might say, where BMO is the only thing alive at this point. So they're talking to BMO, and BMO is as crazy as BMO can be, with the only thing that's being odd is he says football hasn't been around, but their remote broke in this dimension and BMO / Princess Bubblegum was trying to fix it and BMO died, just like that, as a little gag. But before BMO died, they ran into some tapes and BMO decided to show them one of the tapes, and one of these tapes were just some of the Ice King's rambles, some of the Ice King's rambles that we ourselves have seen. And I think it's starting to look like that Fionna understands why Simon doesn't want to go back, why he likes the person he is, why he's calling the Ice King insanity, because the Ice King is the literal form of insanity. So fast forward it back to after BMO died, and they go to see the one person BMO keeps talking about, Jerry. So they're going to see Jerry, and it's the Lich. And I say this all the time throughout my watchings of Adventure Time, but the Lich will always be intimidating. It might just be because of his deep ass voice. It might just be because he could send people in this weird mind place. I'm not really sure, but he's just always been intimidating to me no matter what. And this dimension is a dimension where he has successfully killed every single last human being alive. But because he has done that, it's been many years of him just sitting there bored, doing nothing. So he decides not to kill Fionna, Cake, and Simon, and Fionna reveals that she has had the crown from the Winter King episode this whole time. She says she hasn't revealed it yet because she doesn't want him to be forced to do this. She doesn't want him to feel this insanity. She doesn't want him to go back to a person that he doesn't want to be. But him and Kate kind of reassure her, make her think that everything's going to be fine. They get the whole ritual thing going on, and her and Kate get sent back into Simon's head. And at the same time, the Scarab guy, I think his name's Scarab or Scrabby, they keep calling him Scrabby, but I think his name's like Scarab or something. He shows up and he looks like he's gonna kill Simon, but at the same time as Simon's putting the crown back on, Golb appears. Golb doesn't appear yet. The portal opens up under Simon and it looks like him and Scrabby get sunken in. Oh my god, Gold Betty is gonna make an appearance? That's gonna be so sick. I have a little funny question. Did Gold Betty do a little Itachi to Simon? For those of you who haven't watched Naruto, after Sasuke defeats Itachi, Tobi decides to try to go recruit Sasuke to join his side. But at the moment where Sasuke looks up at him and looks into his Sharingan, Sasuke's Mangekyo activates and a Matsuratsu flame ends up devouring Tobi and he has to back off. And he ends up revealing that that was some sort of a curse or spell that Itachi put on him in order for whenever he saw Obito's eyes. So I'm assuming there might be a weird thing about that because Simon was literally inches away from putting the crown on his head, and then there's some shocking stuff going on and the gold portal opens up. This is really exciting. I'm really excited about this. We just got a lot of stuff about Simon and Betty. We got a lot of stuff about Simon's past in general. And now we're being pushed back into the present, into a world, our world, where our Simon has been living. All of these events have happened because Simon has been alive. Golb is the way Golb is now because Simon is here. Without Simon there, Gold Betty would not be a thing. And now, we get to see the consequences of his actions. And I like that. It's fun. Even though I've been liking this series and the story that this show's been telling so far, these 2 episodes have really reassured me that it's in good hands. And now I feel like no matter where the story goes next, I'm completely down for it. Originally, I was kind of iffy on him being the Ice King again, and I kind of don't think that's going to happen now at this point, especially if Gold Betty is getting involved. I do not think that's going to happen, but I've kind of laid back towards that, not hatred for it, but dislike towards it. But he's 100% just going to be Simon, and we're going to see how that happens. Is he going to actually be able to speak to Betty again? Who knows, but he'll at least be able to see Gold Betty for her beauty and tallness that she is. It's going to be cool. I'm really excited for this. I'm just really excited. Honestly speaking, I'm just really excited. So I've just seen the Fionna and Cake season 1 finale, and man, am I happy. This show, surprisingly, for as quick as it came out, has been a pretty big roller coaster. Not only for the audience looking at the show itself, but also for this channel, and I couldn't be happier for that. Similar to Distant Lands, I think only 1 episode I didn't enjoy that much, but everything else I've genuinely been enjoying so far. I feel like the story progressed pretty well. At one point it started to feel like it wasn't a Fionna and Cake story and more of a Simon story, which was by design because Simon was the focal point of this series. He's the person I've been talking about for the entirety of this series, outside of the first video for it. So it comes to no surprise that in this season finale, we get some sort of a resolution to his character. This entire season, he's been kind of down, kind of bad on himself. He doesn't feel like he belongs. He feels like he's an oddball. Even if there are humans in this world, he still feels like he doesn't belong compared to Finn and some of these other weird, fantastical humans that just love everything about the land of Ood. He's just lonely. That's his main thing. And that's not something to laugh at. We all have moments of feeling like we're super lonely or feeling like we don't belong in certain places. Whether it's a family gathering, whether it's school, yada yada yada, we've all been there before. But throughout this journey, we start to see him sort of gain a new purpose because he feel like he's lost it for a long time. He assumed his purpose was to bring Betty back or a way to see Betty again, but maybe that's not his purpose. And that's where episode 9 comes in, Casper and Nova, because yes, Simon is here in front of Gold Betty, ready to just tell her everything that he's been waiting to tell her for this long. He wanted to see her again. He wanted to apologize that he can't help fix what she has become, and he wanted to also apologize that he has to put the crown back on. All of this work that she has been doing to help him come back to normal, he's about to take it away from her just like that. And does she sit down and just let that happen? Hell no, she doesn't. She zaps him into the mind of somebody interesting, somebody who I wanted them to visit in this series, so I'm finally happy we got our second glimpse at Shermie and Beth, everybody. I'm very happy about that. I've been wanting to see more Shermie and Beth. It's so weird the little amount of time we've spent in this distant future version of Ooh, because you can tell from the series finale, from this one episode alone, that this is a huge, gigantic new world of Ooh. Like, there's so many different things going on, so many different power struggles going on. Shermie and Beth are basically revolutionary people trying to throw down the king. I think his name was like Gibbon or something. It's crazy. I want to know so much more about that world. But Simon's mind gets trapped inside of Shermie, and he goes on this whole tangent about why is Gold Betty doing this? Why am I here? I had to get the crown back. I had to, you know, help Fionna and Cake out. I need to make the world magical for them. This is my purpose now. So him and Beth go to the library. Beth obviously doesn't believe whatever Simon's saying, but they go to the library, they get the book on the crown, and the crown takes them on this adventure. The Adventures of Casper and Nova. And throughout this little side choose your own adventure type of journey, Simon's only focus is the crown. Every option he sees is the one that gets him closer to the crown. So he's choosing more of what Casper wants to do. Casper wants the crown, he wants the crown. So he's continuously choosing the options to get closer to the crown. And this comes at a halt. The halt is the final chapter. They're finally right here in front of the crown, and Simon only has one more option. Does he A, let Nova sacrifice herself so he can get to the crown, or B, drink the potion so he has the strength to get the crown, but in return, he forgets who Nova is. And Simon doesn't really like either options. He says they're both kinda cruddy, kinda junk. And that's where Beth chimes in for him. Beth looks at him and says, yeah, it's because you've been picking Casper's answers for the entire time. What about Nova? You haven't done a single thing that she wanted to do. She has been sacrificing everything because she's obsessed with Casper. She wants to be with Casper no matter what, so she's willing to sacrifice everything and anything. That's kind of where it dawned on him that this is very similar to the story of him and Betty. It's always been him and Betty doing what he wants to do. He always assumed that maybe it was both of their dreams or something, but no. He's always been doing what he wants to do, and every single time he gets in a situation, it's always Betty who sacrifices herself for Simon, to the point where she is turned into the god of chaos, or I guess goddess of chaos. So he comes to this crazy ass realization of, damn, my life is great. Betty is great, she sacrificed herself for me, I should be thankful for that and just enjoy the rest of my time living that I have. And I couldn't be more happier for Simon, honestly speaking. We've seen the journey that this man has come on from season 1 of Adventure Time, which I think came out in like 2010, 2011, all the way till now, 2023. We've seen the journey this man has come through, from being the Ice King to having glimpses of being Simon to just straight up being Simon again. And I think that's why I had a huge problem with the original reveal that he was like, I gotta become the Ice King again, because that should not be an option. That should never be an option. So I'm glad the story obviously didn't go with that. Like, I'm genuinely happy the story didn't go with that. But before we wrap up, I do want to talk about Fionna, because I haven't been talking about Fionna for the longest. I think outside of the first video, the main time I felt like I gave attention to Fionna was the last video I did, because she was slowly coming back to the forefront, slowly coming out of that weird thing of, oh, this is a game, I can do what I want, and now she is realizing that she is causing major issues with each world she's going into. So now where she's back in her world, oh no, something's wrong with Simon because the magic's not back yet. The cake still has her powers. And uh-oh, the scarab's in here now as well. So her side of things was just this really big battle with all of the normal people in that world versus the scarab. He was destroying the world left, right, and center. At the same time, Prisma was breaking out of that container that he was put in. And it was just a lot. Emotions were running high. People were trying to defend themselves from the scarab. And it comes to a point where Fionna has to think for herself. And it's like, we each had to make a decision about this world. This world isn't just mine to decide whatever I want to do with it. We each have our own lives, we each have our own things. I love Gary, I love Marshall, I love the fact that they're together, and I don't want to take that away from them or anybody in this world. They all have amazing lives. So she ends up deciding, I want this world to remain how it is, maybe be a little bit more goofier though, you know? Cake can still be Cake. So at the same time she's coming to that realization, Simon's coming back into his mind from being in Charmy's body. And he pulls out Fiona's world from his like mouth or heart or wherever and gives it to her. And when Fionna just blows it out into the distant worlds, it becomes an authorized universe, which is fine to me because I don't really know the logistics of how things become authorized universes or not. Genuinely, I have no idea. And her world isn't that much different from all the other dimensions we've been going to over the time, so I didn't understand why this one couldn't have been authorized. It's fine with me for this world to be authorized. And the reason I'm kind of saying this in a slight form of a question is because earlier the YouTuber Ostrovox had tweeted out that the ending might be controversial to some people, but I don't think it's controversial at all. It's the ending of the story I thought was coming. I didn't think Simon was going to be Ice King. I didn't think Fionna and Cake's world was going to disappear. I would have assumed, like, I don't know, maybe it would have gotten into Ice Thing's head or something, but I don't see another ending for this world to have done. I don't see what would have been controversial about it. And even though the world's being destroyed, it's very fun and it's very like heartfelt to see Fionna and Cake fight for their world and what they love. I'm surprised that Cake's fighting so hard for this world, considering that she really wanted all the magical aspects of the Land of Ooh into her world. But that character growth, I guess, doesn't matter, so we're just gonna skip over that and just talk about Fionna. And since the world is authorized now, Prisma can now overtly interfere with the danger of Garib just trying to destroy the world. Like, he can't destroy an authorized universe, that's bad. But even after it's authorized, he's still trying to take out every single body in this world. He just has this weird hate boner for Prisma. So with nothing left to do, obviously they sell him on one of the egg containers that he's had on him for this entire time. Yeah. That's what happened. Also, I like the fact that he's not in trouble. Yes, he is working under Prisma now, which can be seen as, oh no, I don't want to do this, seen as bad for him. But he gets to slack off a little bit with Prisma now and create his own world, create his own character. It looked like they were teasing some weird dark medieval drama. I wouldn't mind a dark medieval Adventure Time series, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, Fionna and Cake was really fun, a really interesting journey to go on. Nobody really seems like they got a bad deal. Everybody's endings is turning out pretty good, and honestly, I couldn't be happier for that. I'm really happy that Simon is still alive. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was so worried that Simon might have passed away at the end of this, and I'm genuinely happy he didn't. I thought that might have been an option on the table, and with like some of the thumbnails people were using with Simon laying in the bed of grass, I'm like, oh no, I didn't just get hugely spoiled on Simon's death. But no, I didn't, and I'm happy I didn't, because Simon doesn't deserve to die. He deserves to live the rest of his life however he sees fit. Yes, it won't be with Betty. Yes, it won't be with Fionna and Cake. And all of the time, it probably won't be with Marceline. But he still has an obligation to at least live out some sort of a life. You know, Badius gave this to him, gave him a second chance at living, a second chance at enjoying himself. So he should take the best of that opportunity and just enjoy what time he has left. And you know, that message can be turned on all of us. We all can enjoy some time we have left on this world. Nobody's life is more important than the other. Yes, you personally might feel like your life is like, you know, you're the main character of your own life. Your life is technically more important than everybody else's, but also speaking, it's not. So live your life to the fullest, live your life how you want to, unless you're a very bad person like a criminal or something, then probably don't do that. Just enjoy your time being here, honestly speaking. What more can you do than just enjoy your time being here? I mentioned in my Fionna and Cake videos that I wanted to go back and talk about some previous episodes of Adventure Time. I thought it'd be a good idea. It seems like some people liked it, and maybe I'd end up doing some other series as well. And I thought the best place I'd start off would not be episode 1 of Adventure Time, but a Fionna and Cake episode, the first Fionna and Cake episode. I might talk about all Fionna and Cake episodes, but for right now, let's start with the first one, which is titled Adventure Time with Fionna and Cake. This episode, whether I like it or not, feels a lot more like OG Adventure Time than the Fionna and Cake series does. There's not really any nuance with these characters, it's just really, here's a moment in time that's happening with these guys, which is what Adventure Time used to be like. So hypothetically, if you like random adventures with Finn, you should like random adventures with Fionna as well. But where this does kind of be a little different from Adventure Time is, I think Fiona's a little older than Finn, and since she is older and also a female, there's some relationship drama that happens within here, because a lot of times writers don't know how to write female lead stories without making it about whoever male they're trying to date at the time. This episode, does not pass the Bechdel test. Surprisingly, it's not jam-packed with references like I would think it would be. Like, here's this version's gender bent swap, here's this version's gender bent swap. We really just focused on Fionna, Cake, and Prince Gumball and the Ice Queen, with the rest getting episodes of their own later, from what I remember anyways. This episode is about this ball happening, and Prince Gumball wants to ask Fionna to go with her as his friend. The Ice Queen comes and tries to steal the prince. This big snow thing happens, and then the prince is a lot more flirty with Fionna and asks her on a date. Fionna's freaking out, but Cake wingmans her on, so they go on this date. And this date is magical. He gives her a new sword, and it's just super cool. So we ask her to now go to the ball as his girlfriend. Ooh. So that she does. She puts on this dress, but you know, she is a tomboy at the end of the day, so she doesn't want to go anywhere without her sword. She packs a sword with her. They go to the ball, have a little fun, maybe have even a little drinks, you know, a little mimosa. Who doesn't like mimosas? I don't even drink. I don't know why I said that. They go up to the room. Prince Gumball starts getting undressed. You start wondering to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's show? And then you look up and Prince Gumball's there covered in ice, and it was revealed, uh-oh, it was the Ice Queen this whole time. How did the Ice Queen know about the ball when Prince Gumball invited her to the ball before the Ice Queen shows up? But they beat her up, save a day. Prince Gumball officially asks her on a date, but she turns him down, saying she doesn't need a man to be herself. She could be herself all on her own. So maybe this does pass the Bechdel test after all. But before it can get a passing score, she does say there's only one man she's interested in, the Ice King. And then Cake starts talking about the Ice King as well. And then the Lady Rainicorn version also pops up and talks about how hot and cool the Ice King is. And obviously it ends up being revealed that this is a fan fiction that the Ice Queen has written to read to Finn and Jake. And that's really how the episode ends. And I think the reveal that it's a fan fiction written by the Ice King is always super fun, and it makes going back and looking at it a little bit goofier. Also makes it a little bit weird. Like, why are you shipping this gender bent version of Finn with yourself? Why? I don't know, but you know, you're out of your mind, so I guess that's fine. But it does make the rest of the story slightly funnier, and some of the things that happen, like the Ice Queen knowing about the ball even though she wasn't there at the beginning, it makes that make sense. And it's overall, it's a fine episode. I was never really a big fan of the Fionna and Cake episodes. I think I talked about it in the trailer reaction, but the trailer for that series made me into Fionna and Cake, and that retroactively made me want to go back and watch the OG Fionna and Cake episodes. And I still think they're fine. I'm not really a big fan of them. Maybe the next ones will make me change my mind, but currently I don't think I'm a big fan of the OG Fionna and Cake stuff. Although the next ones I'll probably watch 2 episodes of, because I think there's only 5 episodes in Adventure Time, and I watched the first one, and the next 2 come in seasons 5 and 6. And then the other 2 come in 8 and 9, so I'll watch those together. So I've now seen the next 2 episodes of the OG Fionna and Cake, which were Bad Little Boy and The Prince Who Wanted Everything. And these 2 episodes both share one thing in common, and it's that both were not written by the Ice King. For something that's so prevalently known for being one of Ice King's fan fictions, these next 2 episodes have nothing to do with the Ice King. The first one is written by Marceline, so it focused on Marshall Lee, and the second one was written by Lumpy Space Princess, so it's focused on Lumpy Space Prince. And in both episodes they kind of teased the ship between Fionna and the main character of that episode. So it's really making it seem like Fionna and Cake is just a thing for ships, which is what most fanfictions are, to be fair. So I guess that works. But I feel like what worked more in the first Fionna and Cake episode is that we didn't know it was just a random fanfiction at first. We thought it was real. We thought we were just seeing a gender-bent version of Finn and Jake, and we just watched them have an adventure. It was a plot twist that, uh-oh, it's an Ice King fanfiction. But now, since that no longer can be a plot twist, it feels like that's the only way they know to transition into a Fionna and Cake episode, is that the Ice King is reading it to somebody, or somebody's reading it for Ice King for him to listen to. But I did like Bad Little Boy a little bit more because that cold open was so funny. It had Dr. Prince running away with the Enchiridion and Fionna and Cake after him to try to get said book. And uh-oh, Who do you think comes to save the day right out of the Enchiridion book? Ice King. Ice King comes to save the day, and they live happily ever after going on a space adventure. I'm not sure what Ice King's obsession is with Fionna and Cake, but this episode really drove home that there is an obsession there from this first story that he written where he has just self-inserted himself entirely to at the end of it where it reveals that he has a whole statue dedicated to Fionna and Cake, and he tells them that he promises one day that he'll find them because he knows they're real. And no, we know now is kind of a funny thing to look back at and be like, oh, I know why you know they're real, but you don't know why you know they're real. And I don't even think they probably knew back then, but it's a cool new information to have. I say new information because some people don't like it when I used to read retcon. I think it was just supposed to be a crazy one-off that was said by the Ice King, and I don't think it was supposed to be something so crazy that it actually turns out to be real. But it's still interesting to look back at and think about, especially after the Fionna and Cake series just came out. The only other weird part I can say about these episodes is their placement in seasons 5 and 6, is that they're in seasons 5 and 6. Because at this point in Adventure Time, it kind of lost its original innocence and it's now trying to find a new identity. There's been a lot of more weird story-driven episodes, The Lich, Finn the Human, Jake the Dog, and these seasons are also everywhere at the same time because seasons 5 and 6 have a shit ton of episodes within them. So having a Fionna and Cake episode slap in the middle of both of them can be a little reliever, can be a little filler episode, can be a little de-stressor for a lot of people, and for the writers in general, they can really go off the wall and really go over the top with whatever type of story they want to make, and it doesn't have to make sense because these are fan fiction episodes where anything can happen because it's fan fiction written by in-story characters, and only the Ice King, and I guess Lumpy Space Princess as well to be fair, thinks they're real. And that's the butt of the joke at this point, is that Ice King thinks they're real. So I've seen the last 2 episodes of the OG Fionna and Cake episodes in Adventure Time, and those episodes were okay to say the least. The first one was a Grable spinoff called 5 Short Tables because it was Ice King doing his own version of that, talking about different stories that are happening within the world of Fionna and Cake. And normally throughout most of these stories, all of them are supposed to have some sort of similarities between them. The first one was like the 5 senses or something, I don't remember what the second one was about, but this one, the similarities were they all had tables in them. Which is very Ice King that it'd be something very random like that, so I don't have any like qualms with it. I think one of the funnier things about this episode was that the Ice Queen was also telling a story about a fanfiction she made of Fionna and Cake called Flynn and Jacques, where in that story the Ice President was telling Flynn and Jacques a story about 2 people named Len and Janet. It goes down a rabbit hole and it goes to make you question, do they also have different dimensions within them, or are they actually fanfictions? What's going on here? I think we should have visited those worlds in Fionna and Cake so we definitely knew for sure if they were real or not. I think the episode of Fionna and Cake that everybody wanted people to look at were Fionna and Cake and Fionna, which in this episode was to have a weird plot twist that Fiona's real the entire time. She's this old lady now in the land of Ooh, and Ice King's trying to talk to her. Finn made a comment towards her, wanted to ask so many questions, but Ice King didn't let anybody ask her questions. He wanted her full attention, and he got her full attention. But things started to get weird because it seemed like she was avoiding some questions. It seemed like she didn't want to show everybody her full tape that she recorded of Fionna and Cake. It started to seem very weird. She kept asking Ice King, does he have some Fionna and Cake tapes? What's going on here? When Ice King let her move in, she had no problem making herself at home, throwing away his toothbrush and everything, and sleeping on his couch, claiming the room as hers. And Ice King also had no problem with it. He was able to sneak and look at the rest of the VHS tape, and the tape was about a mummy coming into Fionna and Cake's world, and it ended up being the Queen of Ooh. She had this valuable lesson: don't let strange people live in your place. So Ice King's suspicion is she's a mummy, and no, she's not. She's just this random old lady thing who had a fascination, and somehow with the help of satellite stuff was able to get a signal of Fionna and Cake adventure, and she watched that one singular adventure over 100 times until the point where dressing up as Fionna gave her confidence in this world. She was able to no longer be shy. She now feels as if she is Fionna. Then Ice King shot her down super immediately. Fionna would never do this. You son of a bitch. Fionna would never lie. She's always been a hero, and that broke her heart. She cried and left. I think the interesting part about this episode specifically is that when they ask Ice King, how does he come up with all these Fionna and Cake stories? He says, it's beating him to my head at night just like everybody else, duh. And they show that on the last scene of this episode where he's sleeping and the adventures of Fionna and Cake is literally beamed into his head, which obviously we know to be Prisma doing that from the Fionna and Cake series, where he, I guess, created Fionna and Cake, or maybe his was inspired by Ice King's stories, and his later stories were then inspired by the adventures started going on in his head. I'm not really sure. And I also think around the time this has happened, these last 2 episodes that have happened, because they're in seasons 8 and 9, Adventure Time is wrapping up. I think the writers may have known that this was an alternate reality at this point, where it's a real dimension and Prisma was doing this and stuff. I think they might have known at this point, but early on they 100% did not know. I think that's a fact. At the end of the day, I think that's why I like Adventure Time, because it's so lore heavy that they don't answer a lot of questions about what's going on, and they could leave that for future series to be had, like Fionna and Cake, like Shermie and Beth, which everybody wants to see more of Shermie and Beth. Please give us more Shermie and Beth. But there's so many options for so many different stories that Adventure Time could go on forever, and this is one of the examples of that, where they may have teased that they knew the story since at least season 9, and we finally got to see that come into more of a fruition with the Fionna and Cake series we got today, and that's pretty cool if you ask me. But with that being said, what are your opinions on these last 2 episodes of Fionna and Cake, OG Fionna and Cake? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. I love Adventure Time. I might do some more episodes of Adventure Time. I might go and do some other stuff beforehand, but who knows. And with that being said, I'll see each and every one of you around next time. Okay. Goodbye.